Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to another class on communicative English. In this particular class, we are going to talk about email writing. We all understand these days letters are very less posted. They are written in many numbers, but the postal letters or delivering pen and paper letter is very less. So, in the current scenario, when technology is upgrading and when there is a huge change or transformation in the world of technology, people have moved from pen and paper letter to email letters. So, in this particular chapter, we are going to talk about business email letter. How do we write proper email and what is the importance of writing an effective email? So, let us start the session. The chapter as detailed is on email writing. So let us understand what is an email. Mail is a letter. When this letter is in the form of electronic, such kind of letters are called as email. Please remember, email help us to deliver the information in a very short period of time. At a very short notice, you can share lots of information with number of people. At one time, you can share the information with many number of people, which was actually a constraint when we were talking about pen and paper letter. Here we need to have their right email address. If we do not have the right email ID, we cannot reach up to the recipient. So therefore, it is very important that there has to be an internet facility. There has to be, we should have the email IDs of the recipient so that we can share the information or we can mail them the information that we want to deliver. Now, the speed, which was actually a constraint, is very easily, or I should say that at a great extent, this email help us to fight against the time. It is again, when we talk about the cost, it is effective even in cost because when while mailing, it hardly takes some hours to draft the email and send it to number of recipients at a go. So therefore, when we are talking about sending an email, how can we write an effective email? What are the basic email writing etiquette that we have to keep in our mind? Letter remains the same, which we have discussed even in the last chapter. When we are writing the letter, here there are certain basic things that we have to remember. From address, we do not write because by default, the date, time, and address is set in your system. Whether you are talking about a mobile phone, whether you are talking a laptop, or whether you are talking about the desktop, everywhere. Whenever you mail someone, by default, the date, time, and your email ID will be seen by the recipient. So therefore, we need not write our email ID. We need not mention the date. We need not even think about the time. This is a default set. Other than that, we should have the proper email ID of the recipient, which we will be mentioning in the to column. We need to remember that the subject plays a very important role because it is actual and impressive opening. When you have a right subject matter in your mind, the person can read that in a proper way and then can reciprocate or can respond to your letter effectively. So therefore, the subject line has to be taken care, followed by the body part. The body that we are going to write in the writing portion of the email will be again divided into three parts. The first part would be we start with the salutation. We start either with dear sir or dear ma'am, or when we don't know the person, then we write sir or ma'am. When we know that they are younger to us, and when we know them with the name Mr. or Miss so and so. So after salutation, we proceed ahead with the body part. The body part is divided into three parts as detailed in even the last chapter. First part is the purpose that we are willing or that we want to convey, that we want to bring to the notice or in the thought process of the respondent or the recipient, that has to be mentioned in the beginning part of the letter, followed by expectations, followed by the explanation that we are willing the recipient to work out, and finally the call of action or the follow-up action that has to be taken. So always remember, the body part will remain the same as the letter, which we write either on pen and paper or by using an email form. So when we are writing the email, the first thing that we have to remember is focus on the purpose. The purpose should be very clearly defined and it has to follow all the seven principles of the communication. Remember the seven C's, which was detailed or which was explained in the second chapter of communication. So when we are writing, the purpose should be properly detailed. Uh, in what profile or whom are you representing? Is it from on behalf of the organization? Is it from an organization? Is it from your personal end? Or is it from the designation point of view? What is the position of the writer of the email should be very clearly identified. And then how the recipient is going to accept your letter. Are you addressing it to the audience, or are you addressing it to the organization, or are you addressing it to a group of members or a group of people or to a community? You have to keep all these things in your mind. Avoid using slangs, about using abbreviation, about using any kind of jargon. Try to keep it very simple and short as always advised. Always remember, a good beginning and good ending is very, very important. Avoid typo errors, avoid spelling errors, avoid grammatical errors. Use very simple and short sentences, straightforward messages, so that the person can have easy access to what you are trying to convey. Finally, when you are trying to send the letter, keep this in your mind that while sending the letters, you have to keep common things in your mind, that avoid using shortcuts. You are not going to write anything which can be offensive or which the other person can take it in a wrong sense. Keep your email very simple, easy to understand, easy to interpret, and easy to communicate. When we are talking about addressing, as detailed to you, there are three columns. The first one is to, where we mention the email of the recipient. In the to column, we always mention the name of the first hand recipient of the email. In the CC, that is courtesy copy, we mention the name of those persons, or we type the email IDs of those persons whom we want to have access to our communication, whom we want to inform that yes, this work is done, or this information is shared with the other members too. So whenever you are adding a CC, that is a courtesy copy, please remember, don't expect an answer from the persons who are addressed in CC. You are sending it to the person who is marked in two columns. So therefore, you need to expect the response only from the person to whom the email is directly marked. Then comes the BCC, which is blind courtesy copy. This is hidden. The other person cannot see the members who are marked in blind courtesy copy. So you can keep this as a record. You can keep this as a proof. You can also add on the team members. If it is sent or if it is shared by the team leader, you can keep the in blind courtesy copy the other members of the team, so that even they can know that how the email was sent, when it was sent, and how the other person have reacted or acted accordingly onto it. When we are talking about email writing tips, keep these common things in your mind while writing the letter. Keep it very simple, keep it straightforward, and write to the point. Do not try to entangle, do not try to exaggerate, do not try to confuse people, and don't write lengthy paragraphs, or do not have lengthy paraphrases. Use very simple sentences. I repeat, when I'm talking about simple sentence, do not even use compound or complex sentences. Let us understand what is the difference between simple, compound, and complex sentence. When I say simple sentence, it ends with only one single punctuation mark. My name is Neelu is a very simple sentence which ends with one single full stop. What's your name? Again, it is ending with a one single punctuation mark, that is question mark, and it is seeking one simple statement or with one simple information, your name. When we talk about compound, it's a combination of a couple of punctuation marks, wherein you use either the two or more punctuation marks, or you use conjunctions in order to add more number of product. Now, when you are using many number of conjunctions and many number of punctuations, then the sentence will not end in a single line. It will be complex, wherein you are adding more number of sentences, many number of informations with more number of punctuation marks. So keep this in your mind. Whenever we are writing email, we have to write or we have to use simple sentences. If not simple, you can move to compound, but try to avoid complex sentences. The next is what kind of email ID you should have. Now, you cannot have those kind of email IDs which are a bit vulgar, which are a bit confusing, or see that it has to be business oriented. Remember, we are talking about formal business letter writing, formal email writing. So therefore, keep your email IDs professional. You can have your email address with your first name, then with your designation. You can have even your business email IDs, so that you can use them while you are interacting and communicating. Make sure that you have a very clear cut identity of what the subject title should be. The subject line should be clear. The subject title should convey the right information to the recipient. Finally, the paragraph. If there are more number of points, it is always advised to put them into the different bullet points. If you are trying to inform something which is going to talk at length, then it is always advised to divide them into different bullets or different points, and number the points or number the bullets, so that it becomes easy to read, to remember, and to work or to reiterate accordingly. Do not use block letters, that is capital letters, while reading. Please remember, when you are writing capital letters or when you are sharing some information completely in capital letters, these are called as shouting letters. That means you are shouting at someone. So therefore, if you are writing an email, and when you are writing it in general, do not use capital letters just for an ease, or just for the sake of writing it in very quick, without shift or without changing the form of the letters. If you really want to write it very fast, you just put a cap lock on, and then when you keep writing, actually you are shouting. Your letters shows that you are you are unhappy, you are dissatisfied with the work of the other person, and it shows that you are shouting at others. Therefore, avoid using block letters. Always remember, you cannot use emoticons, you cannot use emojis while writing the formal email letters. The grammar rules should be properly followed and implied. You have to have the proper understanding of the basic sentence structure, how a structure of the sentence is formed, whether you are using it rightly or not. Whenever you are attaching any file, the file attachment should be less than 25 MB. If it is more than 25 MB, trust me, it is not going to reach to the person. It will be delayed, and or it may even get collected in spam. So therefore, you should remember that make sure that the file that you are attaching is of less than 25 MB. It is always advisable that if it is more than 5 MB, to add it on Google Drive, so that even other people can access, and it becomes easy for the other person to view to it. Reply the email. It is very important to answer the mail that you have received. If you do not answer, the person may think that you did not receive it. So to acknowledge and to make other person understand that yes, you have gone through the mail and you know what is being delivered to you, it is very important that you answer the mail, you reply the email. Then do not try to use, for each and every email, do not try to write a response, thank you, okay, fine. You should not write unnecessary emails. Responding to an important mail is very important, but for each and every, say for example, if somebody has said thank you to you for sharing the follow-up, you need not write a thanks mail to him in response to his thanks mail. So therefore, you have to remember, it is very important to write an answer to a mail, but where to avoid unnecessary emails, even this you have to identify, and you have to avoid writing such unnecessary email. Here is a sample email. You can see in the two, there is a person to whom this email is addressed. In the courtesy copy, there is another person to whom the email ID is addressed. The subject is very clearly stated that it is an inquiry about the conference center availability. In the letter, you can see very clearly that the letter is divided into three broad categories. The first one is talking about what is the purpose behind writing this particular email, what are the actions that you are willing to take against that particular mail, or what kind of inquiry it is, and what are your expectations from the other person. That is, here Mr. Kapil Mishra is going to respond to your email. So therefore, what is your expectation from Mr. Kapil Mishra? That would be detailed in the second paragraph, and finally it would be the conclusion. Please remember, there are proper subscriptions that we have to use, as detailed in the previous class when we were talking or discussing about the business letter writing. Whenever you are writing any professional or business letter, it is always advisable to write yours faithfully. And if you're a student and when you are writing a letter to your principal, headmaster, or to the teacher, it is advisable to use yours obediently. So when you keep these things in your mind, trust me, your email will be read, your email will be effective, and people will appreciate your email writing techniques. So please keep this in your mind, and I believe that you all will apply these common rules in order to write an effective email. That's all in this particular class. We'll come back with another class on another topic. Till then, goodbye.